Without having nice and clean data, you cannot have AI. Rather than focusing on theoretical, technical knowledge, we also wanted to see how they are applying their knowledge into the real world scenarios. Record your video with 5 minutes or 3 minutes of answer on these 2, 3 scenarios and submit it. I personally feel that myself, I get influenced a lot by a good quality personal statement rather than a very good quality CE. You should not get frustrated. Let's say even if everything goes well, happy path scenario, you get the offer, you join the organization and the team, but you are not feeling satisfied. So you are asking trouble for yourself and for the team as well.
Praveen, I'd love to get your thoughts on this. So AI is obviously having a profound impact on the world already. Lots of things are changing. Probably everyone in every job, especially knowledge workers, are thinking about what's going to happen to my role. What will my role look like in a few years? If you had your crystal ball, what do you imagine data scientists, data engineers, data analysts will be doing in 5 years' time?
That's a really good question. And I would say one of the pressing question in nowadays, because ultimately everybody wants to do something with artificial intelligence or with generative AI. And data is the first step or the stair to reach to the maturity of AI, right? And is and we all know that, right? We love Excel sheet, we love SharePoints. Most of the data resides on those in not very good shape and size. But over the top, we want to build some kind of AI. And why there is so much need of bringing some kind of AI in the organization, because everybody believes. And since ChatGPT brought the what you call it, the power of AI to the common people, right? So now everybody wants to improve productivities in some way, in some form or shape, right? So, and data team is the first go-to team or the people, right, who can do something with AI. There's nothing called, you can't hire AI engineer, right? All the AI engineers, their title might be AI engineer, but their background must be data specialist, data automation, data engineer, data scientist, or something like that. And without having nice and clean data, you cannot have AI, right? So in next 5 years, what I see that, most of the data specialists, whether it could be a data analyst, data engineer, or data scientist, how they are upscaling their understanding about the various types of AI tools, platform models, and challenges and risk associated with AI. So they can communicate and articulate back to the business, hey, you want generative AI? Like in my team, many business people come to me and ask me, hey, Praveen, can I have Gen AI in my team? So we can say, yes, of course you can have, but do you have a clean data? Do you have a structured data? Do you have a data which can be go feed in to train the AI models or the machine learning models? So understanding about AI and machine learning and what are the risks associated with it and how that can percolate back and goes back to the data or the data quality which they have, and articulating them and identifying the risk and explaining them to the business, which I'm seeing it, and learning new tools and technology, right? So as a data specialist, this is there is no escape in terms of learning new tools, new technology like Azure Synops, or new tools from AWS, or new data platform, or and like Microsoft Fabric from Microsoft, right? So for those who are Power BI engineers, now they have to upgrade themselves. So they do not have choice; they have to upgrade. But at the same time, they need to learn AI and machine learning skills. This is the fundamental thing which I'm seeing in next 5 years.
If you think about like the day-to-day tasks of either an analyst, an engineer, or scientist, are there things that you view as like low-hanging fruits for large language models or other types of AI to help with? For example, the pre-processing of data or data cleansing or aggregation or perhaps something else?
For any organization, which I feel that the data quality and how data is being coming into the data pipelines, data acquisition, how good we have, right? How good that data acquisition platform we have, and these are the key challenges which I'm seeing. If you do not have a nice structured way of getting data in organization, then you have a lot of data quality issue, and you need to do a lot of human intervention required to fix those issues. There is probably very few little automation solutions available which can identify data quality issue and fix it automatically. You need data engineers to identify those issues, right, and then fix it. So lots of manual intervention, human in the loop required. But if somehow we can get a nice way of getting data into the organization in a structured, or at least if not fully structured, semi-structured, so you can you can do some nice thing on the only on the structured data. If data is unstructured, it's a nice long lengthy paragraph, free text. It's like as good as like email. You just need to go and read and do the comprehension of those texts. So these are the key things which I'm seeing day to day, and also upgrading and updating skill set is I would say nowadays is and learning the probably the best practices. If we cannot assume that everybody knows everything, so attending conferences, going out and getting the knowledge from outside, how other teams and other organizations are dealing with data quality issues, and what kind of data governance structure they have.
Thinking now about hiring, I was always struck when I looked at the way recruitment was done is that it's often quite gut feel based, quite intuition based. Not a lot of things normally get measured as part of the process. I'd argue it's generally not done in a data driven way, and it's certainly not traditionally done in an advanced data science way. But what about your experience so far? Have you seen any perhaps like small scale efforts to make hiring a bit more data driven and a bit more objective?
Yes, so very good question. And one of the, I would say, pressing challenge in front of the data leaders, how to hire the right resource, right? And hiring process in itself is quite uh, generally it's long winded, right? Even if you get the right resource to get him on board, it takes minimum 3 to 4 months of time. And in my last organization, they used to have a very good practice called pre-screening questions. So the candidate can record their answers against those questions, and those are basis, those just 2 or 3 questions, not too much. So these are the open-ended question when we ask candidate to share their experience about this real life problem, right? And they don't have to do anything, do any coding, they just need to articulate how they will approach this problem, right? So rather than focusing on theoretical technical knowledge, we also wanted to see how they are applying their knowledge into the real world scenarios. So quick video, record your video with 5 minutes or 3 minutes of answer on these 2 3 scenarios and submit it. And if hiring managers see yes, the answer, the approach is good, may not be the right answer. The this is how a data analyst or data engineer or any normal person with good reasoning will approach in this way. So that gives us first step to shortlist the candidate, even making an efforts to go into the detailed resume, right? So that's a really good step, which I believe will sort out a lot of noise from the first step itself, right? Those who are serious candidate, right, they will make an effort to give a very good answer and record that video and share it in the response of those top 2 3 questions, screening questions, right? And otherwise, we are all human. We just wanted to do shortcuts, right? Copy paste and submit, put it into the resume and submit it. And yeah, so to avoid those things,
Yeah, a video brings it to life. I'm wondering, was part of the approach to like standardize, what you thought a good answer was and have a mechanism to like grade the responses from the candidates?
so there are various factors, right? First is with the responses of those, video recorded by the candidate, give you 2 3 things as a hiring manager. One is the communication skill, confidence, problem solving approach, and also a little glimpses of their technical expertise, right? So you may not able to explore full technical expertise, but that will give you a lot of confidence. And still, I would suggest, right, the technical skills which can be upgraded, which can be learned, which can be fine tuned, but something which is problem solving, communication, leadership, confidence, this can be also built, but it takes a lot of time, right? It takes efforts, years of efforts, right? So that with the hiring process in itself, right? Okay, where some guy or some person is candidate is very good technically, but he is not able to articulate right the problem in a right way or the solution in a right way. And in our real life, we have to interact with the non-technical stakeholders, business owners or the process owners, and we need to articulate a solution in non-technical language, right? So they can also understand, like head of the business. they won't understand when you say, hey, okay, I've run some, Python script and this is the output we have got. What does it mean? You have done some hypothesis testing. What does it mean? You say, bro, the data is showing there is no abnormality or no, abnormal data is there. And it means that the data, what is showing in terms of trend, upwards trend or downward trend is the true representation of your business processes or the business outcome. So ability to explain the complex technical, issues in a language which everybody can understand, a stake business can understand, right? Simple language, right? So that glimpses we can get from those videos.
Yeah, I think a video really brings it to life in a way that pure text wouldn't, because you just get to see that.
And Stanford University, they started this in their MBA essays, right? Like remember, few years back we used to write 1,000 words essay for your MBA application. So they said, okay, people, we do copy from here and there and Google. We go to the experts who help us in terms of writing personal statements, right? And they write very good. They are professionals. But when you record your video, you are yourself. You're a genuine person, right? You cannot borrow someone else's knowledge in your personal statement. So they started this 1 minute and also the video gives you the information about the candidate's energy level, enthusiasm, right? Which cannot be marked, which cannot be. There is no parameter in tech, in interviews to assess this, that how candidate is enthusiastic about this new role, and how likely if the role is being offered will be able to join it, right? And otherwise some people are very good but they are just exploring for to see whether they can get a better offer or not, right? So a lot of other inputs you might get it. Yeah, so that's what I was thinking.
Most hiring processes would start with a candidate taking their CV, uploading it, applying for the role. As you mentioned, adding in like a small secondary step if that short video screen gives a lot more information than a CV alone. But for the companies who are relying on CVs, do you feel like that's not a great predictor of who the best candidate is? Do you feel like companies kind of over rely on that instrument in the screening stages? Perhaps there's another data set they can use to decide who to interview.
No, that's a really complex challenge. So, when we advertise a job vacancy or the role, uh, generally it's 500 words or maybe 1,000 words or 1,200 words in terms of job description, and of course, which does not cover everything. And there are so many other things which you have to do on day-to-day basis, right? Which you cannot write everything, and otherwise the job JD will be the 10 page and nobody will apply it, right? People get scared. So also, I would encourage, like, we need to mention somewhere in the JD itself, hey, even if your skill set does not match with all of those items which are mentioned in the JD, if it is 60, 70%, still go ahead and apply, try to apply. And it also opportunity for candidate to have an informal chat with the hiring manager. That's not an interview, just to understand the overall scope of work. What you call it, the recruitment seminars we need to conduct, which when I was working in Deloitte, they used to do it, right? So they give the glimpses of the team, hiring team, what technology stack they are using it, and what, and some insight, peeking inside their team that, okay, probably the candidate who is going to join this team, right? So that helps a lot. Uh, and yeah, and giving them an opportunity to have an informal chat, right? Rather than sending CV and then seeing, oh, there might be very good candidate, but we rejected because he or she did not mention something specific in the resume, right?
And what about once we get to the interview stage? So different types of interviews. Most commonly you might have like a cultural fit interview, behavioral interview to check like softer skills and experience, technical interview to test those technical skills. I tend to hear, I'd say the majority of companies say that they would favor the softer skills. They feel like the technical skills are a little bit easier to teach or a little bit easier to pick up, and they really drill down on the cultural fit and the soft skills. But you could hire the friendliest, nicest person in the world who's a great communicator, but they might not know anything about data at all. Do you feel like this mentality is sometimes actually hurting the ability for data teams to deliver high quality work because they might have a lot of good talkers and friendly people, but not necessarily those who can actually do the work?
Yeah, Tim, this is really good question, and my answer would be the ideal how we can strike the right balance of both. Right, we cannot have a very nice, friendly person, excellent in communication, but not understanding anything about data, or we cannot have a person who is excellent, superb, like data one world's top 2% data scientist, but not able to articulate properly. So we need to strike a balance. You can have like 80-20, right? With 80% of technical skill set and 20% okay still can be improved. And similarly in communication, if person can articulate basic information, that's fine. We don't need a PR agency or a news journalist kind of person, right? So striking a right balance and mindfulness in terms of nobody knows everything, right? So that would be the ideal candidate for me, and this is what firm should be focusing on, right? So not going on extreme left or extreme right. It's technically extremely good, but not able to articulate the basic problem or basic issues or the solution in a normal language. We cannot, it's not very useful, and in either way as well, right? So
It's about having that balance, but also not expecting a unicorn.
yeah, absolutely. You are asking for Superman, right? And then you have to pay for in millions of pounds, right? If you want Superman to do very good, excellent, superb communication skill, and excellent data scientist. No, we don't get those kind of people. But the important thing is that the 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 ability of candidate or willingness to learn something which is lacking, right? That is very important, which generally missed out. So even in interview, when hiring manager or the firms, they realize, okay, the candidate is very good, but it's lacking in certain skills, maybe communication or maybe some technical skill set. But what is the willingness for candidate to or and also showing, and what you call the portfolio assessment or their CV assessment, how regularly candidate is learning some new course or engaging in learning something new. That gives you a lot of good indication. Yes, the person is in over last 2 3 years have learned various other things. So the person is having a genuine intent to learn. If something is lacking, can be trained and can be upgraded. So that's a very good insight, can be done from the candidate's resume, and can be asked as well. But in interview, if you ask, generally candidate gets agree for everything. But if you ask them politely, hey, what are the last one or two new skill set or something new you have learned, right? And not marking them against them, right? Somebody say, I've done 10 new courses in Azure, 5 new courses in AWS. Okay, so but the ability, the continuous track record, like last 6 months, last 1 year, how many new things they have learned, and also you know noting down those keywords in the responses, that the when the candidate says, I came across a new platform, new solution, and I have learned and I've done these certifications, right? So it's a very good evidence of candidates ability to learn, ability to be trained, ability to upskilling themselves.
One thing I'm really interested in is making hiring fairer. Ultimately, this podcast is all about objective hiring. And I feel like a lot of the traditional methods of hiring are very potentially biased. So, just to unpack that a little bit, CV contains a lot of information that really companies don't need to make a hiring decision. So straight away, the name reveals someone's gender and ethnicity. You could easily get their religion based on their school. You could get their socioeconomic status based on where they live. In some markets, people put a photo on, so suddenly you know what they look like. In the Philippines, and it's very common just to put straight at the top Roman Catholic, married. So you got the marital status, you got the religion. So many data points on there that are just completely irrelevant to deciding who the best candidate is. Yet, until let's say very recently, most hiring processes would start with a human reading that CV and trying to make a decision despite being bombarded with all that noise. And so I feel like a lot of hiring is kind of set up like that, but it's just almost inherently potentially biased. You've seen in interesting ways that companies are trying to make hiring more objective and fairer.
Absolutely. And very good question again. And we have a solution for this in UK civil services. The hiring process is completely anonymized in terms of candidates name, date of birth, personal, anything which is personal identifiable, it's completely removed. And if person deliberately try to enter that kind of information, their application gets rejected. So hiring manager only get the employee, candidate ID and the skill set. And we also don't encourage you to write your company's name, like somebody has worked for Microsoft, Facebook, Google. That the brand in itself is having a power to influence, decision makers. University degrees, like somebody, graduated from Oxford, right? As a hiring manager, we all know that, okay, people coming from Oxford, Harvard, they are best in the best, right? So you tend to get bias, right? So avoiding those things, we do anonymized recruitment, name blind recruitment, for no personal information is being captured, and encourage candidate to not to give any personal information. And and also, along with CV, we also ask for the personal statement and motivation of candidate, why he or she or them are applying for this position. This is very important. So I personally, if I have to do a screening basis on the personal statement and CV, I would say I would give 60% weightage to the personal statement and motivation why the person is applying for this job, and 40% to the their profile or the CV, right? So so personal statement reveals so many good thing about the candidate, his intention, how he can summarize his entire work or the key work which he or she has delivered in past, last, let's say, 1 year time, into those example in personal statement, and which are matching with the, the key requirement of the JD, right? So candidate should have done some good amount of, homework before writing personal statement. If you just simply copy paste from your previous job or from previous application, it won't solve. So this also reflected how much a candidate is serious about the job. If you are serious, you would really want to, burn your midnight fuel, spend some time, quality time, 1 hour, 2 hours to write a quality personal statement. And I personally feel that myself, I get influenced a lot by a good quality personal statement rather than a very good quality CE.
And have you noticed? So these statements, these are the ones that are written, or these are the ones that are like a video recording?
Both. So video recording is like, they are the, questions which are related with the real life scenarios problem, right? Real world scenarios where candidate is explaining their approach, simple in 2 minutes video, 3 minutes video. Let's say the question is that, for an example, in an analytics dashboard, you have a lot of, what do you call it, spikes in the data. So how would you approach to sort out this issue? How would you approach to solve this issue, right? So we just wanted to hear the approach, right? Not the technical skills in Python or R or C sharp or anything else or anything, right? So that gives the problem solving approach, but personal statement gives the motivation, that why somebody is motivated enough to apply for this role.
Have you noticed a trend in the last year or two of candidates feeling like candidates might have used ChatGPT as part of their preparation? And if so, yeah, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's, well, they're going to use that at work? Of course, they should use it in the hiring process. Or do you feel like, oh, this is about motivations? That this is, I want to know what the candidate thinks. I don't want to know what ChatGPT thinks. Like, what's your view on ChatGPT specifically to those motivational kind of questions?
I would suggest candidate not to use ChatGPT. Even if you make grammatical mistakes, it's fine. We are human. Nobody is perfect. We do mistakes, spelling mistakes, grammar mistake. Do it. Reasonable amount of mistakes are acceptable. It's fine, right? Nobody expect you to have a perfect, the perfect resume or perfect, personal statement, which also reflect you are a human, right? So it's fine. And the motivation should come from the role that which against which you are applying, right? Why this role is motivating you, right, to apply for it, right? And using ChatGPT for fixing grammar or spelling issue, I'm fine with it, right? I don't mind it, right? But it should reflect your real motivation, not the ChatGPT's motivation, right? Because he or she, ChatGPT is not going to come and work for you, right? It's you have to work, and you should not get frustrated. Let's say even if everything goes well, happy path scenario, you get the offer, you join the organization and the team, but you are not feeling satisfied. So you are asking trouble for yourself, and for the team as well. So my suggestion is that use it cautiously, judiciously, which is absolutely needed, then only use it.
In my experience in seeing candidates' answers to thousands of different problems over the years, um, it is sometimes quite obvious when they've used ChatGPT, at least versions up until now. Maybe it'll become indistinguishable soon, but at the moment, it's still often quite obvious. It uses this kind of over the top, flowery language. It's very verbose. It's got a certain tone to it that you can kind of just pick up naturally. But I'm interested to see if that tone carries forward to the videos. Like, do you feel like you can intuitively sense if they're recording a video that they have read it from ChatGPT, that it's not really their true words?
So in the recorded video, the it's not candidate who has to do the timing of the video. So we provides the link, like, as soon as you hit the recording button, in 2 minutes time recording will end. So you do not have time to look anywhere here and there in your notes or chat gpt. You have to be your authentic yourself, right? So you can prepare, and there's no harm and nothing wrong in preparing well for the answers. And yeah, so and it's unlikely detectable, right, in the videos. If somebody is prepared the answer using chat gpt, yes, if they use it, fine. But is that same thing reflect in their subsequent round of interviews, or their personal statement or the cv, or when they are across the interview table, are the same thing is being reflected, right? Because hiring manager won't forget, right, the how candidate answer this problem in the video, and how he or she is answering right now, right? So there will be common sense which needed to be used.
That's a really interesting point. So you're looking for almost like a consistency in how they respond to certain things throughout the hiring process. Because yeah, you're right. If they were disingenuous or lying or use ChatGPT, they'd forget that. They'd be kind of almost caught out in their lie. It'd be very hard to maintain it, wouldn't it? So a sign of their genuineness is the consistency, I guess.
Yeah. So these are, some of the good initiative, I would say. And also, the informal chat option of, civil services provide, option to have an informal chat with the hiring manager to understand about the role, team, structure, growth prospect, training and learning opportunity. Those are also very vital pieces of information for the potential candidate, right? So it's a window for the, and also if they can join the recruitment webinar or seminar, that where we are talking about the role, team, what kind of problems we solve, what kind of work we do, what technology stake we have. These are the very good opportunity for candidate to look into the team, organization, and the role. So they will be truly motivated when they apply, and they can link their motivation with their first hand experience of interacting with the team and hiring manager.
I'm interested in this step actually because this would not be a common step that private companies would have. So, do you have to qualify to a certain stage to be able to have that chat, or could any applicant somehow get a informal conversation with a hiring manager?
Everybody should get the chance, right? Having a 10 minutes informal chat is not a big problem, right? And that is a win-win situation for both hiring manager and for the candidate as well, right? So and everybody does not dare to go and do the informal chat, right? We need to encourage them, because in in real life, when they, in happy path scenario, when they get selected, they join, they have to talk, every day with their line manager or hiring manager or the team members, right? So people have to open up, right, themselves. So if they open up, yes, I want to know more about team. I want to know the location. I want to know about the prospect of, learning new tool or technology in your team. What is the training budget you have? Well, what about the certification budget you have? Let's say I want to do advanced machine learning algorithm training from let's say from MIT, and that is costing around 3,000 pound. Would your company able to, provide that funding for the certification and training? So that's a win-win situation for both, because hiring manager will understand, okay, this person is motivated, he generally wants to upgrade himself or herself and wants to learn. And if they have funding, they can say, yes, we have funding. So that's a very good match, right, to know each other. I don't want to, draw analogy loosely with a couple who are dating first, right? So they go talk about each other, right? They talk about, their aspirations. So that's informal chat should be extended to everybody who wants to know more about the team, role, profile, and growth opportunity.
Well, that's interesting. And I'd like to play devil's advocate a little bit and maybe continue the dating analogy as well. So, like the last 20 companies I've spoken to in the last few weeks, all have complained about being inundated with applications, like hundreds, if not thousands of applications. And so their hiring managers said, yeah, okay, like I'll have a 10-minute chat. Anyone can have that with me. That's all they would do for 3 years is have 10-minute chats with candidates. Or, yeah, for the dating analogy, a girl on Tinder who gets 1,000 swipes. I don't think she wants to go on 1,000 10-minute dates with dudes. Is there some dynamic that's different in the civil service that means that a hiring manager's calendar isn't blowing out with hundreds of different meetings they're having with all these candidates? Like, is there some fundamental difference in the way it works?
Oh, this is a really good question, and it's a very good problem to have it for hiring manager if they get 1,000 application for the advertisement. Honestly, when my last 3 years of experience, maximum whenever I published any job vacancy, I usually get 50, 60, and best of the best scenario 75 or 80 applications, right? And by looking at the quality of application, 50% are just filled hastily, right? In without spending half an hour or 20 minutes of their life, right? So you can reject them outrightly. And like in personal statement, somebody just wrote one line, how you can shortlist him, right? How you can do justice with other candidates, right? And it's a good problem to have. And of course, one person cannot. Recruitment process is not led by only one person, so we need to have a panel, qualified uh, panelist in the interview, not only the hiring manager but equivalent other people in the team who are available to have a 10-minute informal conversation, right, with the potential candidate, right? So the workload will be spread, and that is also an opportunity for other team members, especially let's say junior team members who wants to upgrade themselves, so they can have a candidate chat with their colleagues as well, right? So, and also the other managers, those who are your counterparts, right, in other teams, you can also make their bandwidth available, right? To, hey, I'm hiring data engineer, but this data engineer work for your data. So if you want to be part of the recruitment process, or if you want available to have a, with 5 candidates for 10 minutes chat, we need to absolutely, again here to strike a balance. We have a offer, chat to 1,000 people. But if generally, if there are 20 good candidates who reached out or 10 good candidates who reached out for informal chat, we should extend it.
It's a really interesting natural experiment then, to then see, what proportion of candidates are motivated to reach out for that chat. Like, you would think if all the candidates really wanted the job and they're all desperate for an interview, everyone would book that 10-minute chat. So it's very telling that only a small percentage, or a relatively small percentage, do. And I wonder if those candidates then almost have a bit of an advantage in the hiring process because they've managed to build a little bit of rapport with the hiring manager, maybe extracted some extra information they could use in the hiring process. Like, if you noticed, I don't know, might not have enough data here, but have you noticed any correlation between the candidates who had that extra chat and their success in the hiring process?
How I don't have any data to validate this hypothesis. And that's why I, in my previous answer, I said, we need to have a hiring panel, not the only one person, right? So somebody who might have chatted with some other manager, right, in the data team. So let's say head of the data science, not, but the role is in head of data engineering team. So he or she might have reputation built up with other department, but the role is in not with with other team, right? So that's why we need to have a pool of the talented people who are very good with interviewing, right? So it will not be too much pressure on the hiring manager, and also the candidates will not have the unfair advantage in terms of they've already built some kind of reputation or the first impression with the hiring manager, right? They might have an informal chat with other line manager or other panelist, right? So we can minimize it. Can we eliminate? The answer is no, but can we minimize it and avoid it? Yes, that can be done. And also, we need to encourage to the the hiring manager and the hiring panel to do the recruitment webinar, or the so you can give a very high level overview, 20 minutes webinar or 30 minutes. So it's a window of opportunity for candidate to ask question and give the overview over the JD, team structure, org structure, career prospect, other facilities in the organization, like cycle club or bicycle club, or the nice cafeteria. So these are the things to attract the nice and brightest talent in your team.
When I've investigated the literature on what predicts on the job performance, it is quite clear that some things predict performance better than others. And so it turns out basically that things like the number of years of experience a candidate has, their age, uh, unstructured interviews like your sort of pub test interview, your gut feel interview, your coffee chat, those kinds of processes carry very little predictive power on whether or not the candidate will ultimately be successful once they come into the role. And things like IQ tests, some aspects of personality quizzes, job skills tests, and then structured interviews where you kind of measure things in a very specific way, they tend to predict performance really strongly. Now, what I find interesting is that companies tend to do the former and not the latter. So there seems to be a weird disconnect between what has been studied academically and what we know to be true apparently, and what companies actually do or organizations do. Do you have any views over why we would keep doing what we keep doing things that don't work, basically? Any thoughts on that?
No, this is interesting, in fact, I think. So, yeah, so not the traditional, question and answer kind of format interview. They are more predictable. If you have a data from 100 interviews, or the candidate who came through proper, traditional way of question and answer format, you can predict more about their performance and outcome, rather than people who came through informal chat or through some other things. So I feel the later one is or maybe the combination of both would be the ideal, right? You cannot have absolute left or absolute right again. So making a decision about the candidate in a formal Q&A format of interview, plus informal, and then you are judging that, okay, about the candidate, the role requirement is maybe a lead data engineer or lead data scientist, but 50% time this person has to deal with the stakeholders, communication, right, and the project management. So that Q&A format, yes, you can gauge it, but when you do informal chat, you get to know more about the candidate as a person, as a human being, right? Which generally in Q&A, when you are doing technical proficiency assessment, analytical skill assessment, right, attention to detail, that all those can be captured in the traditional Q&A format. But there is something which cannot be captured. It is can be maybe before you make an offer, you should ask for, hey, can you have one more informal chat, right? Let's talk about something else, something about football, something about cricket. So I do remember long time back, I had an interview with McKinsey, maybe around 7-8 years back in Washington, DC. So they asked me about it, right? Okay, can you join? One of the partner in McKinsey invited me for the dinner after having a formal round of interview. Can you join me? So he knows that the role which I'm going to play is a key account manager in tech automation space. So I need to go and deal with lots of key CXOs people, and I need to have a more than technical skill. I need to have a good people skills, good social skills. Though these are not the essential criteria, but that will help me a lot in successful in my role. So that I really liked it.
Yeah, and that's absolutely fair enough. I mean, ultimately, if you're in consulting, you've got to be likable and you've got to be able to get along with people. I feel like that's yeah, that's essential, and that could almost just be part of the explicit criteria, is like knowledge of this, knowledge of that, this type of skill, likability. Like you could almost incorporate that into an overall framework, I feel. Um, oh, what about this? I tend to hear a lot of hiring managers almost slightly dismiss the technical skills a little bit and say, well, um, soft skills are more important. You can't really change your soft skills. I can teach anyone technical skills, which I get at a certain level. We've kind of discussed this a little bit, but can that be overdone? Like, you're not going to get a fresh grad who's got the best soft skills but no technical knowledge and teach them everything. Like it took me years just to learn SQL, and that's a reasonably simple language, like to learn it to a level that I was effective. I feel like sometimes maybe hiring managers, because they've been doing it for so long, forget how hard it was to really become an expert in their foundational technical skill set. Um, so, can you ever remember any examples of where you've seen someone get hired who has been like a great cultural fit and has had those strong communication skills, but just couldn't do the job? They didn't have the fundamental technical skills.
If I remember, yeah. So from my real life scenarios, but this is a problem which happens, right? So these are the real life problem which hiring manager and most of the time senior leadership teams they goes through, because we make in a judgment. Most of the time it's an what you call subjective judgment when we select candidate or reject candidate, right? There is nothing called okay, this is not a university exam. Here is the paper. Go and come up with the answer, right? So there are possibility that okay, you have made a mistake. The person was very good, very nice, very good, team fit, cultural fit, excellent communication skills, uh, very good, social skills, but struggling with the technical skill set. So we hired the person in the wrong role, right? So some soul searching needed to be done by the hiring manager. Hey, what's the purpose of the role? And what kind of skill set you're looking for it, right? So is it the best combination, or it's you completely hired, project manager into a data analyst role? That will not work, right? That is bound to fail. Like, I supposed to become a hockey player, but if I go and start playing football or I start singing, I'm absolutely miserable. I will fail badly, right? So you know that okay, what specific role you are hiring, and technical skills are, I would say, yeah, still paramount. There is no, and those people who believe that okay, technical skills can be learned easily, it's not. If it is, let's say, just for an example, if it is 120 or 130, Python line codes, and if you have to fix two problem, it takes minimum, bare minimum 1 hour to a very good Python developer, right? Very good. And if it is average, it might take 3-4 hours. And if it is a 1,000 line, it will take entire day. So it's not easy. And more than learn ability to learn, the temperament to learn, patience to learn those skill set is also important, which cannot be measured, right? Which cannot be objectively measured. It can be assessed highly, but high level, but you cannot assess a person who is very good with other skill set, but technical skill set can be taught, can be learned. But how would you rate that okay, the person is having right temperament to learn the technical stuff or the technical coding? Coding is boring, right? Let's be honest. Coding is not fun. Some people say okay, it's fun, but majority of the, again, 80% will say okay, I do coding, I'm very good with coding, I'm doing in myself, I'm doing coding from last 24 years. But do I really enjoy when I have to do coding? No, because if I have to do it, I will do it. But some people do really enjoy, and nobody like to spend, spending 3 hours, 5 hours, or just fixing one, logical statement which went wrong or some error, right? So we need to be honest with ourselves. And yeah, so that's what I'm thinking, right? And one person I do remember, the which we have hired in US in Citibank. The person was very good, very nice, both technical. This is a third dimension of the problem, not the second one. Person was very good with technical skill set, and very good with the, social skill set, communication, or project management. But the person was having a lot of issues, other issues, like work ethics, which I don't want to highlight, right? But the person was never on time in the office, right? And always misses the important meetings. And once, twice, 5 times, we all understand there might be some urgency. But if it happens 10 times, 20th time, then you realize okay, there is some serious problem. So yeah, so it's not only the technical skill set, personal skill set, also the, I don't know how we can measure or assess the work ethics of candidate, but it plays a major role.
Yeah, that's a great thing to highlight. And as you've just referred to as a third dimension, that's a really nice way to put it. And something that, yeah, is definitely not measured at all in the hiring process, probably because it's impossible or hard. I guess you could ask candidates to provide evidence of where they've like worked really hard, where they've, I don't know, they've done a degree and they've worked at the same time, or they've, raised a kid and had a job at the same time, or like something like that. But then it's the kind of thing you only really see once they join, isn't it? And you're right. I don't think we talk about it enough, and it makes the difference between someone potentially being great and very mediocre.
And I think it's a good problem for probably the what do you call it, the psychologist or the those who are good in framing the questions for the recruitment from HR side. They these are my wise suggestion, right? If they can come up with some kind of assessment, hey, can we measure, can we basis on the responses of questions, right? What do you call it, psychometric test, right, or something like that, which help us to get understand. Okay, person may be not excellent in communication, not very excellent in technical, but has a very strong work ethics. Okay, probably I need that kind of guy. And you know, we all know that okay, this work ethics problem does exist in our team in real life, and we all goes through it, right? And but we cannot ignore it. So some kind of psychometric assessment, some kind of questionnaire format, which gives some insight, right? Some kind of sneak peek into the candidate. Okay, the person is having very strong work ethics, and may not be on the scale of 1 to 10 in terms of communication, it's 6 7. Yeah, my work will be done fine, I'm okay with it. He or she can articulate the technical problem in a simple language to stakeholders. Person can may not be the excellent world's top 2% of data scientist or data engineer, but it can get the work done. Or and having being strong work ethics, if he or she needs help, he or she can raise a hand, like to myself, Praveen, I need help, I'm not understanding this thing, or I need asking for help is not a matter of shame. It's a good thing. We should appreciate these things, right?
Yeah, thinking about it now, because you mentioned the psychological tests. Yeah, the way psychologists would try to measure this is actually, I think, through the big five personality model, the ocean model. So one of the traits is conscientiousness. Um, I guess the challenge is that their surveys. So I would be able to fill out that survey and make the answer whatever I want it to be. So I could appear to be very conscientious if I was cunning, by you know doing the correct answer on the survey. But that doesn't really give you the truth, does it? And it's just once you see them, once you work with them day to day, you're like, oh, okay, now I understand. And you start to see all those little being led to meetings or not submitting work on time or turning up late during the day. It's only once you see that firsthand that you realize there's a problem. Um, but as a final quick question, I'm wondering if you have had anyone in your career who you've learned a lot about hiring from, like anyone who's a little bit inspirational in their approach to hiring, or maybe they did it in a little bit different way or a creative way. Perhaps someone that hired you and their approach really resonated with you.
Yes, this is a bit, yeah, couple of very good example. One was, in my very early career, when I started my job as a trainee software engineer, the recruitment process, I really enjoyed it, right? It was like a simple written test, right? And they said the written test is not a pass-fail test, so you don't have to cross a cutoff or threshold. Then after that, it followed by a normal, what do you call it, a small group discussion. And again, it was not pass and fail. And then third was, staff engagement exercise. So I don't know if it's a something which recently I heard in civil services, like, they give you opportunity to go and talk to, existing employee and showcase how good you are a team player, how you, mingle with the team, how you listen. So in communication, active listening is also part of the communication skill, right? And especially from where I come in Asia, right? Indian culture, the immense emphasis on speaking, right? No, it's not that. The communication skill comprises both listening and speaking, right? Active listening. So that gives me very good opportunity, and staff engagement exercise was very good, right? So where we get to know about the various, because as a trainee engineer, I didn't know anything about the organization structure, project manager, scrum master, business analyst. So that was very good, and that gave me a lot of motivation and excitement to join this team. So I would suggest, having a element of mix and match, right? Again, there's no perfect solution. Having a traditional Q&A format of interview is good, but how about engaging candidate, proactively with informal chat, allowing, candidate to respond couple of critical questions, real life scenario questions about their approach to video interaction or recorded video interview, and also, the recruitment. webinar, right, where candidate can engage, right, with the team. So these are the, I would say, good practices, best practices, which will help to assess the candidate in a different dimensions and in a different perspective, and also an opportunity for a candidate, potential candidate, to look into the team and the hiring manager and the role in a more detail, in a different perspective. So combination of all these things, and also the focus should be, I do remember in my first the example which I was giving, they didn't ask any coding problem to fix the in those days Java was very popular language, so we all learned Java, right, a lot. But they gave us a simple algorithm, simple real life problem, which was having a closed looping with, the code were going back to the infinite loop, and they just asked, hey, can you analyze, it's a very simple 6-step flow, what is the problem? So with any common sense, even if you are not a programmer, with a common logic, you will say, okay, the loop is not getting closed, it's going back again and again, the program will never terminate, right? So focusing on the real life problem solving approach along with, tests, etc., that made that interview really good, I would say.
Awesome.